Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today's video I'm going to talk about Saturn transit in Pisces and its impact on Scorpio rising. Anyone with a Scorpio rising, Scorpio ascendant, Scorpio lagna or moon in Scorpio. And this video is applicable for all of them. So guys, I've shared my email address and I've shared my contact details in the description of this video. Anyone wants me to read their chart, you can connect with me on through WhatsApp or through the email. So, before I talk about what is coming your way, okay, in the next 2.5 years after 29th March 2025, let me just give you a quick overview on what happened in your life 2.5 years prior to 29th of March. So, at that time, Saturn was transiting in your fourth house, okay, so which means you had seen growth, you've seen expansion in terms of your fourth house, which is you've seen you could have bought a house, you could have bought a home, okay, you could have renovated your home, you could have bought furniture for your home, okay, you could have bought a car, okay. So around vehicles around your home you've seen expansion, you've seen good relationship with your mother in the last 2.5 years. Now the aspects of Saturn during then were not on friendly signs. Therefore, you face challenges in that area. So, the Saturn debilitated aspect, the third and debilitated aspect was on the house of Mars, which means, you faced issues related to conflict at work. You faced issues related to, politics at work. You faced issues with your enemies at work, your competitors at work. Okay, if you wanted to raise debt, you could not raise debt easily. There was a delay, or it was debt was kind of issue. So if there is anything, there was a problem around debt. Maybe some bad debt came to you. Something like related to debt was an issue during then. Now there was issues with your daily schedule. Your daily routine. You were not able to be very efficient around your daily routine, which is you could not maintain a work life balance in terms of your work, in terms of your health, in terms of your family. So there was an issue around the daily routine. So now the Saturn next aspect was on the house of profession, which is you've seen issues at work, you've seen expansion in your business, you've issues issues around with promotion, with growth at your work. Why? Because this was an aspect on Sun's house, okay, and there again enemies. Now, Saturn 10th aspect was on your ascendant, which means you faced little bit kind of laziness in the last 2.5 years. Now, let's talk about what is coming your way in the next 2.5 years. Okay, so this is going to be a beautiful transit, guys, for you. So I would request you to watch this video till the end. Now, Saturn for Scorpio ascendant lords the third and the fourth house, and is now transiting in your fifth house. Which means Saturn, has a character trait, like whichever house it sits or transits, it brings expansion in that area. Whichever house it aspects, it creates problems in the houses it aspects. It creates challenges in that area. However, this time, Saturn would be transiting in the house of Jupiter, and Saturn has neutral relations with Jupiter. So it's a good placement of Saturn. It's a good transit. And secondly, the aspect of Saturn are on the houses of its friends, which is the house of Venus, which is the house of Mercury, and which is the house of Jupiter. So that's why I'm saying this is a beautiful time for you in the next 2.5 years, because the transit as well as the aspects are all auspicious. Now let's talk about on each item one by one. So Saturn would be transiting in the fifth house, which means like people who are single, they would be able to find a romantic partner. People who are already in a relationship, they would be able to, they would see that their relationship gets converted into a marriage. Okay, the next thing is about the stock market. So during the next 2.5 years, whatever you would invest in the stock market, and one, it would be an excellent investment, and it would be very long lasting investment, and it would fetch you very high returns. However, because it is Saturn, I strongly recommend do not go for very short term kind of speculation. So excellent times in terms of your like speculative investments around cryptocurrency, investments around stock market. So would be excellent. Now the third thing is this is about the startup. So anyone who is planning to get into a startup, this is an ideal time. The startup could be in a partnership. The startup could be with your spouse. If you are already in a startup, you would see a lot of expansion during the next 2.5 years. Now, the next thing is about the relationship with your kids, with your children. So, it would be there would be gains through children in terms of they would they would follow a very disciplined approach. They would follow the principle of hard work in whatever job which is at hand. So, it's kind of a gains through your children only. Now, because it is the Lord of third house, so there would be gains through your siblings. Because it's the fourth Lord, is there would be gains through your mother. And in terms of education, excellent time if you want to go for some kind of education, if you want to go for some kind of upskilling yourself, or upgrading yourself in terms of your profession. This is a beautiful time. Even students would see a lot of expansion in their intellect in the next 2.5 years. So beautiful placement in terms of the placement transit. Now let's talk about the aspects. So the aspect of Saturn would be on your seventh house, which is the house of your marriage, and it is the house of your partnership. So excellent time around marriage. Again, anyone who is into a long-term relationship or who is into a romantic relationship, they would see that their relationship gets converted into a marriage, because it's an aspect on the house of Venus. You would see improved relation with your business partner. People who are already married, they would see improved relationship with your spouse. So a lot of good things related to that. However, you just have to be careful about one thing, because this is also the Marak house. Seventh house is also the Marak house, and it's Saturn's third aspect. So you got to be little careful about the health of your spouse as well as the health of your business partner. This is just one area where you got to be little careful. Rest, it's a beautiful aspect on your, and it completely protects your seventh house and everything related to the seventh house. Now, the next aspect would be on the house of Mercury, which is again the house of friend of Saturn, and that would be on the 11th house, which means you would see gains through your network. You would see gains through your connections. You would see gains through your social network, through your professional network. Okay, if you've been manifesting any kind of anything, any desire you have, in the past, if you have any kind of a desire, an unfulfilled desire, in the next 2.5 years, there's a very strong possibility that desire, that particular desire can get fulfilled. So this is also seen now around the startup, because fifth house is because this has a relation with the fifth house directly. So there could be a possibility that your startup, which is till now, whatever situation it was, now it would start giving you gains. Okay, so that is also seen. So around startup, it's a good time around startup. Now Saturn next aspect would be on the house of Jupiter. Okay, on your second house, which is the house of your wealth. So definitely you would see growth in your wealth, growth in your bank balance, growth in your net worth. You would see expansion in your net worth in the society. So in terms of money, it would be an excellent time. In terms of growing your bank balance, it would be an excellent time. I'll give you a reason also, because Jupiter also has an aspect on your second house. So beautiful times in terms of money. One more thing I would like to add here. This is again around the startup, because this is the house where you accumulate money. Okay, this is the house where you accumulate assets. This is about everything around your wealth. So your wealth will definitely increase. However, there is one more thing, you already running a startup. So there is a possibility, you may go ahead, and in case you want to fund your startup with your accumulated wealth, that is also something which you can do during this time. So beautiful times in terms of money. In 2.5 years, you would see, and you'd love to accumulate wealth, Scorpio guys. So in the next 2.5 years, there would be a lot of action around wealth. So which means more is coming and less is going out. So great times in terms of wealth. Your net worth in the society would increase. Now, this is also about the close family. Like your relationship with a close family would be lovely. It would be, excellent relation. So there's a lot of love within your close family because both it is the house of Jupiter. Jupiter has its own aspect as well as Saturn has neutral relations with your with Jupiter. So the next 2.5 years, guys, excellent. That's mostly what I wanted to talk about this transit. Now let's talk about who gets the impact. So people, Scorpio people who are passing through with Saturn times, Saturn Mahadasha, Saturn Antardasha, they would see 100% of this impact coming their way. Scorpio people who are not passing through with Saturn times, the impact would be 100% there, little milder. Because with planets like Saturn that moves after every 2.5 years. So these are like big planets, and it takes a lot of time in moving from one house to another. So that's mostly what I wanted to talk about this transit, guys. So if you like this video, I would request you to press the subscription button, to press the bell notification, and I would expect you to add a comment because your comment just validates my effort. And guys, one more thing I would like to say here. I see in my analytics that a lot of people, they are just watching it, but they don't subscribe. So I request one thing. If you find value in whatever I'm talking, if you find like my effort, uh, you know, request you to please subscribe my channel. So that's the only request I have. So that's mostly what I want to talk, guys. Thanks a lot for your time, and you have a great evening today. Thank you.